Hello?
Yo.
Is my mic sound good?
Yeah, everything sounds fine.
All right. Um, so I've been thinking about like how I sort of want to go over this. I
Mm-hmm.
guess just to preface it, this is at my in-person local basically.
Okay.
Uh, and I'll go in a little bit about the context and like what my headspace was like a little bit after, but I just sort of want the overall theme to be like I guess general like tournament mentality.
Okay.
But yeah, just to give like a little bit of background um about it is I really the game only became like playable for me over uh like I only got over that O2 type phase over COVID basically while locals were gone.
Okay.
I wasn't going to locals before, and even then I would like practice all month and then go O2 or whatever, and I would get really sad about it when that's really not what I was like I should have been going for. I should have just been going for the friendlies and stuff, and that's sort of what I've been trying to do while also trying to push myself. And I'm still getting used to playing on LAN. It's very different. I haven't feel like I've really like proved myself a little bit over there, and that's sort of what I wanted. And basically, this was the first like real set I think I've had like in person, like real legit set where I can say like it was a legit set. Like I tried, I played well, uh, and yeah. So I guess you could just start with game one, and then
Mm-hmm.
I can talk a little bit about like my headspace
Okay.
after that.
I'm assuming you're the fox.
Yeah, I'm the fox.
Okay. Making sure. Never know.
Yeah.
did
Oh
you
yeah, and
did
if we have any extra time, I was hoping maybe you could look at my because I don't know if you remember, but I have a big character problem. I switch characters a lot. Fox is my best most of the time. He's like
Mm-hmm.
I would say he's like 60% of my playtime, but just about every session on like the best days, about 20% of my other playtime is like so 80% of my sessions are like Fox, but that's on a very good day. Like I almost never spend an entire day as just Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was wondering if you could just look at my other characters, but I do feel sort of strongly about him. But that's just if we have extra time. But yeah, you can start the thing.
Okay. Alright, I'll just go over it and I'll tell you how I feel about it.
All right.
Okay, that was good. Okay. Okay, that was good. Mm, not so
Oh,
much on that one.
can you actually stream it on Discord
Oh,
so that
I'm
like
sorry. I
your
thought I already did.
yeah no
I always I always forget something.
yeah
Okay, let me go back. Okay, so it starts. This is pretty good. He could have dashed back or something, but overall, like the general idea of it was good. Um, Good to keep him kind of on the platform like that. Good CC. He tried to down tilt here, so it was fine. Um, Pretty good down tilt there. Jumping in there is not too bad. This was a good dash dance. This one's not so good. This is kind of
yeah that's something I do that I'm just missing the short hop there.
oh
Like
you're
I'm trying to react to his down tilt is what I'm trying to do there, but I full hop. Yeah,
okay.
that's
So
the
if
problem.
this is a tech flub, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good stock so far. I like that. Nothing to be ashamed of. Okay. Okay, that was good.
I messed up
Tech flub,
there.
yeah. Okay, that wasn't bad either. Oh, could have up aired.
Yeah, I think my C stick was being weird, or I just didn't think it would kill.
Okay.
I watched his prior sets a little bit before this, and I knew he's very eager to get back to stage, like he's greedy. So I was betting a lot on like back airing him because I knew he wouldn't play it smart.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been why I did that. But happened again.
Ooh. Okay. So something small is just right here. You need to be really ready to wave dash out of shield shine in this matchup, and in a lot of matchups, but big time in this one. So if Marth whiffs something like this, it should just be like wave dash out of shield, shine, wave shine, you know, grab up throw.
Yeah.
Okay, that was pretty good by him. How'd you get hit here? Okay, you just got to read on your movement. Okay, let's see.
See, like there, that was because I knew he'd do that jump back.
Okay, you got you again right here. What did you say about this part?
Like that's why I did that forward throw because I knew he'd do like this bad instant double jump, but I should have
I see.
behind. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
that
just
makes
like a
sense.
read I had on him.
Yeah, that's fine. If you have that read, it's good to use it. Oh, I thought you could make that back.
Yeah, I did.
Almost.
I did,
yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll try not to like go on a ramble about it, but basically,
No, anything you say helps.
yeah,
Your thoughts
yeah,
help.
yeah. I would so basically, like I said, I'm sort of like sheltered. This was like the first like where I did like legit. It was a good set, and I'm like, so my mindset going into this was that this guy. He's like our number 5 or our number 6, and basically it's not a big local. It's under 10 people, but the top 3 players there is a really huge gap. Like it's going to take me a really long time to be able to win locals over those guys. They're all really good. But this guy is like he's like in between them, and so this was the person that I was sort of waiting to play because he was the first person that I think I could get like a respectable win on. Now that's what I like wanted and I was hoping for, but usually that's not what I was expecting. Usually my experience in this game is if I have an expectation about something like, oh, I'll do good against this person, usually the exact opposite will happen. I was ready to get like 3-0'd and just play terrible, but that's not what happened. And once I realized I could do it, I got nervous and I started thinking about like actually having this win because it's like the first time I've ever really like done something legit in tournament, and that got to me the next 2 games basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of just cleaned it up. I think because he didn't really know who I was, he was caught a little bit off guard, and I think he got his confidence back a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I mean, there's just like a lot other different things. Like I wasn't sliding off for some reason. I stopped doing it. I don't know why, but he got a ton of leverage off up throwing me on platforms, and there's like
I
there's other
always
things
forget
too.
to slide off somehow too. I'm like really bad at it. I need to
Yeah,
practice it more.
yeah.
Okay, I have some thoughts on this on this, like in terms of how you played in general, but because you're talking more about like the tournament mentality thing, I kind of want to go through these other games kind of quickly, and then we'll sort of figure out, we'll go
Yeah.
back and talk about them more.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It's definitely an interesting game to watch, though. Okay, so all right, let's try this one. This is game 2. He counterpicks Stadium. Okay, let's. Okay.
Shit.
I'm getting really annoyed at this Marth main, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
No,
But
I'm getting so annoyed. He's playing in a way that he's very desperate for this win.
yeah,
He
he
wants this win
started.
really badly.
Yeah, it started like getting to me. But,
Like he's definitely playing as where he's just kind of hoping you give it to him. That's kind of what he's
yeah,
doing right now.
and I really have to admit, like after that first game, like I clutched it. Like I had never gotten an actual clutch before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought when I went down 2 stocks first game, I thought I was just gonna lose. But when I clutched it, like I was legit like shaking. Like I've never actually pulled something
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
off. And he started playing like just winging it like this, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't super confident. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, I think a big part of it is just like in terms of like experience, where like it's just something you need to accustom like your nervous system to basically, because like no matter how much someone, so it's like basically like all of the good rules of mentality and like how to process your feelings in tournament and like play well and all of that stuff only matters once you have enough experience. Like
yeah,
advice like that is basically like advice on how to like not choke or whatever is only relevant when someone has enough experience that they could be not choking but they still are. Then it's
yeah,
time to kind of like examine like how they are sort of mentally dealing with things. But in terms of like stuff like this, like a lot of it I think is just due to how little experience like you have. Like you keep saying like, oh, this is like my first time with doing this, and this is like my first time doing this, and I've never experienced this before. And it's like there's no way you're ever going to perform well in a situation where there's so many novel experiences happening.
yeah,
The reason that I can go to a local and I can win is because it feels like a day at the office. Like not in the
yeah,
sense of how miserable and boring the office usually is, but just in
yeah,
the sense that it feels like I'm just kind of showing up and I go, "Okay, I need to beat this person, this person, this person." And then I know what all those feel like, and then if if something goes wrong, I've had that happen before too, where like I just randomly lose to somebody like a few matches early or whatever like that. These are all experiences I've had before, and so it's kind of like it's like if you get a new piece of furniture in your house and you are walking around a corner and there's a new piece of furniture and you stub your toe like really hard on this new piece of furniture and you're
yeah,
like I'm really disappointed with myself, like I really shouldn't have stubbed my toe on that furniture. And it's kind of like, well, it's new, you're used to walking around your house without it, so having it there is like inevitably your subconscious patterns are not like prepared for it to be there, and
yeah,
so you can't like really be upset with yourself for not dealing with it ahead of time. It's more one of those things where once you stub your toe, not you subconsciously
yeah,
your brain is like, ow. So then you're kind of walking in that same spot next time, and your brain just avoids stubbing your toe there because it feels bad. And that's something you can only get from experience. And so overall, the fact that like you clutched game one is a good sign in general.
Yeah.
So we can keep going here, but
And that's what. So
oh,
that's what I
it's
mean about.
forward smashes.
Yeah. About like the novelty of it, and that's what I only like. I've been trying to go every week, but I was never going to the old locals for one because I it was 40 minutes and I would go there just to go O2, and I was putting stock in myself. I would say, okay, I practiced all week. I had an expectation for myself, and that's what I
Mm-hmm.
mean by like when I have expectations for myself. It's like I instantly like I just don't perform. It's sort of like in speed running where sometimes they'll go on break but they'll come back and they might like PB like super fast because they don't have any expectation or stock on them to perform and they can just play how they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a lot of effort. I mean, I used to put stock not just in the tournament matches, but in the friendlies. Like, I would think I have to perform in friendlies versus these other players, and it's not like that. Like, I just get four stocks sometimes by random people, and I just do not care. But this is the first time like I felt that expectation again in a really long time, like since like pre-COVID, and yeah, and I wasn't upset with myself because I knew it was going to happen eventually. I'm like, this will happen eventually, and I was ultimately like pretty glad for it. I was happy with it overall.
Yeah, I think if you make progress like in a tournament and you're sort of like let's say, there's somebody and they always get ninth at majors, like they're pretty good, but they always end up getting like ninth or 13th or whatever, then they have a day where they play really, really well and they get top 8 and then they just instantly like crash and burn and get 3-0'd and get 7th and it's like really, really brutal.
Yeah,
And it's
I was remembering the thing with when Magi when she beat Mango, and she just like instantly went like lost the next two sets
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
basically. It's like she was not ready for that win.
Exactly. You're not ready, and it's like you have to be okay with taking things like one step at a time. Like the way to win a major is not to just randomly play well that day. It's
Yeah,
to barely lose like 5 majors. And
yeah,
eventually you show up and you're like, I've now lost in every way possible. And so this time all I have to do is, avoid those things.
yeah, definitely. And then the last one, I tried really hard to mentally compose myself. This is like the second most important one this last game,
Mhm.
but I was a little bit shaken up.
So yeah, there is stuff I can give you to help with it. Like the thing is it will get better with experience, just sort of automatically.
Yeah,
Um, but there are still things I can give you to help you out.
yeah. I can also talk about like my thoughts on like just raw gameplay about like
Mm-hmm.
I have like two strong issues I think in my mind right now that I'm sort of working on. I'll talk about that after this.
Okay. The good thing is like it doesn't. You don't really look that nervous. Like I can tell that you're messing up some stuff, but the way that a lot of people choke is so much worse than this.
Yeah. I have been through the ringer on unranked. Like I have put myself through mental hell through all the
Mm-hmm.
toxicity. I just tell myself no matter how angry I get, I will keep playing, and that has given me like a lot of resolve. Like I've gotten very nervous playing like annoying people on unranked because it's like there are these people that they just log on to beat people worse than them and they assume they're going to win every game, and I really
Almost
really
everyone.
want to beat all of those people, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the best feeling when I do, and I've gotten more nervous in those situations, and in that sense it has given me, but it's different in person.
It is
Not
definitely different in person. Yeah.
Yeah, and with like different contexts. Like this wasn't out of like a toxic sort of thing. It was just because I wanted to win, so it was like more positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just different.
One thing that's always kind of helped me is that like, ooh, that was a good, really good double up air. But
Yeah.
is like, we play friendlies, and the friendlies don't really matter, and we want to win the friendlies. Nobody liked losing friendlies anyway. But, like, ultimately, when you get into the tournament, you're like, okay, so those friendlies didn't matter, but this matters. Like,
Yes.
this is,
Yeah.
like, the big deal. This is, like,
Yeah.
this is the time to show that I can do it. But the truth is that, like, after every tournament, or like let's say you're like when you're at a tournament, how much does the previous tournament matter to you? Like basically zero. Like let's say you have one day at a tournament and you perform really well, and then you beat this guy, okay? You show up and you just 3-0 him and you're like, I'm sick. You go home and you feel good all week. Then you show up to the tournament the next week and you go 0-2. Do you still feel good about yourself for beating the guy the previous week? No, you feel awful. You go, it doesn't matter what I did last week. All that matters is that I lost this week. Then
Yeah.
you show up to the next tournament the next week, and you go, well, I went 0-2 last week, but I'm not going to go 2 this week. And you do well that week. You don't care you went 0-2 the previous week because you did well this week. You beat this guy again. You're like, I knew this was my true skill level. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like the tournament only feels like it matters on the day of the tournament. But
Yeah.
realistically, there are many more tournaments in the future, and like all you have to do is think of your current tournament from the perspective of like the next tournament. Like recognize that like in a week you're going to be back at the same venue or whatever and you're going to be trying again. And even if you won the previous week, like I won my local this week, when I go to the local next week, I'm not like, "Oh, well, this local has something to do with the last local I won." When I go there, I'm like, well, I could just bust her out today and feel awful. And
Yeah.
so it's just important to keep in that mentality. It's very easy to focus that like this is the moment. This is what I've all been everything has been building towards. And especially with majors, it's really tough for people to get over that feeling with majors. Like some top player will go to a major and they lose. And they're just like, oh, my whole life is a choke. And they're drunk in their hotel room and they're just furious at themselves. And then like a month later, they just fly out to another major,
Yeah.
and so it's like that's sort of the mentality of realizing that it's not just that the current tournament won't matter in like a week is very important to keep in mind. That like you
Yeah.
are here to try to do something and you're just gonna do your thing, and if it doesn't work out, you'll just do better next time. There doesn't need to be the pressure to like it's all my practice is for this. This is still practice for next week. Like the tournament I'm in right now is practice for the next tournament I go to.
Yeah. Uh, and I sort of especially learned that uh, with. I mean, there were days when and this was like even before Unranked, like on Smash Ladder, I would go hard and I would just torture myself playing people that I hated. And I would be screaming. I could have like my day almost like I have legit been alone in my house, like screaming.
This is a video
Uh,
game, right? No,
yeah, and it's like I don't know. I sometimes I just get the like my Italian temper or something. I get all hacked up, and then literally like in an hour, I won't even remember what I was getting mad about. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why did I even like I don't even remember what set play like what the play was that was going on that was like pissing me off so much. And it's like and then I'll literally just play like 2 hours later, and it's like why did I even get upset or like why did I but so I just learned like it didn't like it just doesn't matter, like it's not worth getting upset about something that isn't going to matter, that you're going to forget about in the next hour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is it's with tournaments it is different because like I have to drive 40 minutes and like I
Mm-hmm.
really don't like driving in the city, and it's like there is like a little bit of that's what made it hard before is because I put expectation in myself, but I think of it now as like I'm just going over to a friend's house and I'm there to hang out. I'm not going there to like prove anything to anyone
Mm-hmm.
or that I feel like I have to prove myself. That's why I feel like most of the people that quit this game are the ones that like they don't have like a choice. Like Melee's like their source of like income or something, and it's like the world is ending when you lose. I hope
Mm-hmm.
that like I never have to experience that sort of thing because ultimately you can just yeah, it's like it only what happens on that day is what matters basically.
Well,
Or like
the thing is,
in that
it doesn't. All that matters is eventually being good.
yes,
So the
basically.
thing is like that sort of like you made a good point, which is like you drive 40 minutes to the tournament, and it feels like that sort of investment. It's rough when you lose with that sort of investment, and when you play 8 hours a day, and then which is still crazy to me, but some people do, and you fly out to a major. You spend a lot of money. A lot of times money's tight, but you spend all your money to fly out to a major, and you've been practicing, and this is everything, and then like playing under those conditions is like a different type of weight than playing under
Yeah.
like driving 40 minutes to the local to play.
Yes.
And like it's just like another type of experience. Like basically that compared to you driving 40 minutes to the local compared to, playing friendlies with your friend on unranked or whatever is
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
or not on unranked, but like just on net play. And it's like those have different levels of pressure, and like until those levels of pressure are sort of like normalized where you're just like, okay, every week I drive to the local, and then like it can go well or it can go bad. Like until you have that feeling, it doesn't it's very difficult to play correctly.
Yes,
And
definitely.
so, okay, so just to sort of go over like a few things, one thing that really helps in tournament matches is to have, especially like when you're feeling the pressure, is to have fallback things. So you want things that are like, in the worst case, I can still rely on these things. And so the easiest sort of fallback to go to is like bread and butter punishes. And so this game one, you just kind of beat up this Marth by like baiting him, and you win neutral a lot of times, and you pretty much just like outplay him. And I think the reason why you didn't really win harder is that you were really focusing on outplaying him in neutral and not as much on being able to like take his stocks. Like I think you were kind of trying to take his stocks, but like in a lot of cases it feels more like you're like, yes, like I got the win on this situation, like that's excellent, good job me, rather than like being like, I don't feel your focus to like just take his stocks and win the game as much as trying to like outplay him. And I
Yeah,
think like
that
as yeah, what's up?
so that's one of the things I was talking about that about what I'm currently like working through basically. So that is what I'm thinking on. Like I mean that is for one outplaying people is what I derive all of my enjoyment in this game from is like getting a read and outplaying
Mm-hmm.
someone. That's like one aspect, but I've been putting a lot of stock in basically reacting in neutral, and Martha's a great example of that because react to they give you cues for
Yeah, yeah,
like
I
he'll
noticed that you're doing that.
yeah, like every time this guy, for example, I watched him the set before. Every time he'd do a full hop, like a short hop, no fast fall fair, he'd always down tilt after. It's like, okay, I can drill that. Like that's what I was focused on. I was not focused on like, okay, what do I do after I get the grab and up throw him?
Uh
Like I
huh.
was
Uh
not.
huh. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so here's a little lesson, and this lesson has been really difficult for me to learn because I'm also somebody who gains the majority of my joy from this game as like outsmarting or kind of you get this clever outplay and you're like, oh, like that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
But like the sad truth of this game is you can't outplay everyone. And that's not in the sense that, oh, sometimes they will outplay you. It's in the sense that like most people aren't worth the outplay. And it's like, it
um,
sounds weird, but like basically when I'm playing like pools or something like that, because I think watching this, I think you're significantly better than this guy, and I think it should be a pretty easy win just from watching it. And so, but I think that his mental direction is geared more towards winning the match at all cost rather than outplaying. He actually doesn't care at all about outplaying. It's actually kind of bothering me that he's just sitting there like, dude, all I want is for you to SD 4 times, please, you know?
Yeah.
And like, let's see, so where was I? So, I got sidetracked thinking about the Marth. What was I just saying about your Fox?
That I'm like, how I'm not like geared toward that people aren't worth the outplay.
Yeah. That people aren't worth the outplay. So in the sense of like when I'm playing pools or something like that, I actually am not thinking in any way about the decisions my opponent is making at all. And my entire thing that I'm doing is I'm just like, okay, so you go for it, subconscious, and when you get a hit, you tell me, and then I'll clean it up. And I just kind of let's go for it, subconscious, and then I do basic dash dances and I do basic aerials and stuff like that. And when I get a hit, and then I go, okay, time to focus up, and I just make sure I clean up my combo, and then that's just the win. And the truth is that most players you play against, that is how you are going to have to play against them to win in tournament. Is like you are going to have to just be totally focused on your punish game and let your hands do their thing. You will eventually get enough openings to win. When you play against someone who proves to you that you can't win by doing that, that's when you start adding in these little like reads and these little like neutral exchanges that you like. That's when you start trying to outplay them, is when they've proved that like, you know, it's like you're trying to like you're in a fist fight with like a 6-year-old, and like your whole goal is to like counter punch them, and you're like, oh, they're gonna punch me, and I'll do like a dodge and I'll punch at the same time, and like that'll be sick because like it'll totally show that I like outsmarted them. And it's like if somebody has a body that's like 100 pounds lighter than you, you don't really need to do that. And in fact, like spending time focusing on that is kind of like a waste, you know, if you can kick someone across the room. And so it's kind of like you need to just focus on like, can I just sort of beat this person? Like, can I just sort of do my combos and they'll let me win? And that's what this guy is doing. So you have like all of the important skills for playing the game, and then he has all of the important skills for winning if his opponent will let him. And so it's like, well, I don't want to just put the ball in my opponent's court. That's generally not good gameplay. But starting with it and being like, you need to prove to me that you're worth me thinking harder about openings is sort of like a layer that people need to get through. And then you can start adding it in. Because I definitely see that you're putting a lot of effort into getting the hit, a lot of effort into like baiting the guy and stuff like that. But there's not like that intent that you're trying to just kind of like cheese him and win. And even if you're not planning on cheesing and winning like that, you need to be like projecting that intent to someone, because it'll change like how the interactions of the game play out. So basically, he figures out by the second game, or maybe closer to the end of this game, I guess, but he definitely figures it out, that like you are waiting and you are going to try to like bait and punish him. And so his thought process is like, okay, so if you're thinking super hard and you're trying to outsmart me, I'm just gonna run up and forward smash, and maybe it'll kind of like throw you off, and then I'll just keep forward smashing, and then like, what if you just kind of let me win, you know? And it's like, if you don't have that like please let me win energy, the other person's please let me win energy will kind of edge you out sometimes. Like they'll kind of clutch it over you because of that. So what you need is you need to be like, I also have like big cheeser energy. like I am also here to like hope you SD 4 times and shine spike you at 0, and like, you know, I can play just as dirty as you can. And then once you have that established, that like they cannot like be like more victory hungry than you, then you just outplay them.
Yeah.
But until you've established that as like a baseline, what it feels like is, it feels like, you know, someone who's, you know, you're out there and you're in like a street fight and you're trying to practice your very precise karate techniques that you've been training in the gym, and people are, down to throw sand in your eyes and, tackle you or something,
Yeah. So what this is reminding me of is that I don't know if you probably know this story because it's like a Hugs story that I heard once. But this was the last win he got on M2K in person. It was in like 2006. He had to
Okay.
play him at like a
I had no
at
idea
some
he ever beat M2K, but I believe you.
yeah. This was I think it was actually their first set or whatever. But he played in friendlies and he knew he was really good and he was like intimidated by M2K, and he asked Wes for advice because like Wes was like fucking up Mewtwo King at like locals and stuff like back then. He's like, yo, what Wes, you got a good record on him, okay? Like, what do I do? Like, what's some Samus? He didn't like respect what, but he's like, you know what? I'll ask him. And Wes was just like, yo, just fuck him up. He's like, just fuck him up. And it was like, and Hugs was like, okay, this is just old school. Like,
Yeah,
this is
that's
just old
definitely
kid
the
advice.
answer that, like, that was the impression of Wes was funny too. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine Hugo trying to take that advice.
And he was like, this is just like when they'd say, oh, just have mind games. He's like, this is just stupid advice, it doesn't make any sense. And so he played this set with M2K, and it went down to like last stock, and he had like this anime moment. He had like a full charge shot and he was thinking about, oh, how can I strategically use this game winning charge shot. And like M2K was just dash dancing at the end of Yoshi's, and he just immediately thought of like Wes saying, just fuck him up, and he randomly just shot like a random charge shot, and M2K was just dashing away, and he just got hit by it and died at like 30%, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
last set he ever. Basically, that like, I don't know, it just made me think of that whole sort of like idea of, I don't know, because like M2K is that sort of little bit of like that kind of player
Mm-hmm.
that will think very critically about sort of things. But I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I've been telling people lately is this idea that like, and the thing is, most people don't really need to hear this idea because most people are basically like the Marth player you're playing, where they're just like, give me the win, come on, give me the win, come on, give me the win, and you're like, calm down and think for a second and like play the game, and they're like, what if my opponent just dies though? That'd be great, and so it's like, when people have the opposite problem, what I like to tell them is that like Melee is not actually a game of who is the more skillful player.
Yeah.
Because if that was true, there wouldn't be all these upsets. There wouldn't be these things. Like, it's not about who's playing better. It's about, or who is a better player, I should say. It's about what you can get away with. And so, there's so many people, and they analyze Mango's videos, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna learn Falco. I'm gonna be so good at Falco. And Mango will just like stand there and then wave dash forward and forward smash while someone is holding shield, and then they jump out of shield and they die at like 50, and they're just like, like, why? Like, he's cheating. Like, how am I supposed to learn from that? And it's like, Mango knows or has a good sense from all his experiences of what he can get away with and like what is kind of like a good gamble to make, And so like he can get away with things that other people don't get away with. And like Kalindi's always frustrated about this, where he's always watching Mango's videos, and like Mango will play Zane, and he'll do something and Zane will miss a punish, and Kalindi will be like, if that was me, Zane would have zero death me. But because it's Mango, he didn't. And it's like, well, part of the reason for that is that Mango can feel out in the flow of the match, like, what someone is ready for, and he's going to be going for things that they might not be prepared for, with the sort of like gamble in mind that like it feels like they're not really ready to, get this. I bet I can get away with this and be a little bit greedy here,
Yeah.
And so like, and like I said, normally people are more on that side where they're very, like you said, they're greedy, they want this W at all cost. And so usually it's the opposite, where I'm telling people to like, practice neutral or whatever. So it's good that you already have kind of like the like you're trying to bait and you're trying to play like good neutral against somebody, and that's good. But like also I need to like feel this like this intent from you that you are trying to like kill him at all moments, you know?
Yeah. Uh, so what I was sort of going on at like I know I have this in mind. This is like sort of how I started was uh because basically because I was playing all these different characters, I couldn't like rely on like cuz every character has like their own sort of bullshit. They all have
Mm-hmm.
like some
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing they can rely on. And when I would go from character to character, I realized like I couldn't rely on one character's thing for another. And I realized all I did have was sort of like the outplay, and I could
Mm-hmm.
move around like crap, but it was all I would think about. But I sort of realized that this was this it wasn't working out because it's sort of like basically imagine you're like an O2er and I don't know, you or like you play your round one and the person asks you sort of oh wait, I have to think about how to connect this right. Okay, like they ask you sort of like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like what did I do bad? And and you probably would have no idea because your brain just would not be on. You don't need to like think. But from like that, as someone who's been in that O2's perspective, like I used to think like, oh, if I could just get a read here on this very good player, like I would play very good players, and I'd be like, okay, if I can just get like this read on the dash back in the corner and grab it, then uh then like I'm out playing, I'm doing the smart thing. But it doesn't really matter if like if I can work really hard to get this one hard read, if I literally just do not get anything off of it, like I don't
Mm-hmm.
even get a kill. Meanwhile, I'll just play a good Falco and they'll roll shine and just kill me off of it. Like they can literally their
Yeah,
eyes
yeah.
could be closed. And it's like I
Mm-hmm.
realize like I'm just like sitting around reacting, trying to go for these reads when I don't have like I'm trying to I, I'm trying to run before I can walk, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
basically I watched a lot of like I don't know, I watched Silent Wolf videos and like old tech skill, like I would watch like Berserker and Lovage and stuff. And
Yeah.
I started to realize like platform play and how technical people were. And I realized like this is just how I want to move, like completely fluid. I want to move like that, but I want to be able to have like the reads that I have. And so that meant I put a lot of stock in being able to like move around properly, and I'm still
Which
not
is
all the
good.
way there.
Which is
Yeah,
good to
yeah.
do that.
And I'm like, I just need to be able to move around because it wasn't just that like I would get the read and I wasn't like smart enough like to punish it. I just like straight up just was not fast enough to punish it. Like I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
react in time. Like I would get the thing, but there's no way my hands were fast enough to pull off the inputs I wanted to do. And I realized I just needed to grind out my movement really hard to be able to do that. And that just meant that I just put a ton of hours into unranked. And then like when I wasn't doing unranked, I would just watch streams and I would try and do like tech skill spam on Battlefield. Uh, and it happened to me recently. I had like a friend do like a little bit of analysis on my first one of like my first sets at the first local I had to back, and he sort of actually he's in chat, Yanni or Yoni. He's the person I had. I did not expect that. Yeah, he's like you're playing like you're doing a tech skill routine, like you're not reacting to your opponent. And I was like, I sort of knew that was true, but when he brought that up, I was like, I really am like not trying to like. I'm sort of just I mean, part of it is because I didn't. It was like a puff thing. I didn't know, and I was just playing like I was doing a tech skill routine. And I'm like, okay, I need to go back to what I was doing before. And now I think both those things are coming together really well. But I'm at the third and final stage where I'm realizing I'm putting the stock in reacting in neutral, right, and getting all these reads and reacts and outplaying people. But now I just need to apply because I have this sort of mental formula. Now I just need to apply that to punishes because and this is very apparent with spacies where I'm reacting when they're in neutral, but not when I actually get the hit on them. Like I sort of, it's almost like I'm like just expecting myself to hit the combo. It's like, wait, I actually still need to keep my eyes on them. Like I actually
Mm-hmm.
still need to look at what they're doing.
So
And
yeah, okay. So really quick, I'll let you finish. Um, with combos, a lot of times people think you get the hit and then you react, but it's a lot more of you get the hit, make sure you are always moving out of like the first frame
yeah,
or as close to it as you can after you get the hit. So like let's say you get like an up air, what people will do is they will up air and then they'll look see where their opponent DI'd and then run and try to hit it. But that's actually wrong. What you want to do is you want to up air, try to kind of read where they're going to go based on like how you think the combo is going to go, and then instantly move and then react to where they go.
yeah,
Because and that's a big difference between like a lot of the way that the top players combo and the people sort of below that combo is like it's like I tell people to like don't look for openings on your opponent, look for combos on your opponent. Like when
yes,
you're going to get an opening hit, already know which combo you're going to be trying to hit after you get that hit. Like be like, oh, if he whiffs this down tilt, I'm going to drill wave shine, grab. Not like I'm gonna hit the drill and then I'll figure it out.
yeah. And right now, I'm seeing myself where before I would just get a grab, up throw, up air, and then I wouldn't know what to do after. But now I'm at this spot where I'm like 2/3 of the way there, and I just need to get to like that very last spot where I can consistently like hit what I need to do. I want to send you this if we have like enough time. Like I know you're
Yeah,
already
we have
over,
like
but this,
15 minutes left, I think.
okay. So I wanted this Marth game I played,
Sure.
and this is sort of a thing with Marth. Like I couldn't make him work at all. Uh, and it's sort of like a similar problem. Like I just didn't have like things straightened out. All right. Let me send it. Did it go through? Oh,
I have not received something on
okay.
Discord. No.
Okay, just wait. It's being okay. My computer is actually dying. Wait, give me a second. So basically, like I was thinking about this Marth game because Marth is a character I spent. He was who I mained before. He was who I played the most before Fox, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and I could never make him work. And I think this is the best game I've ever played with him because this is where I was sort of doing the thing where, like, so like say I'd get a dash back grab up throw onto the platform onto the side plat, say I'm like
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon, and I would get like say like the initial up tilt you're supposed to get in that situation, but I would just completely drop it after. I'd have no idea what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, well, because
And
you knew the up tilt came next, but you didn't know it comes after the up tilt.
yeah,
Like, you need to know that ahead of time for it to be successful. Like, you should be like, when I up tilt, if he DIs this way, I do this. And if he DIs this way, I do this. And you should have a general idea of that, like,
yeah,
before you even do the up tilt. But like, so that just means you don't have you don't have a filled, like, your punish tree isn't, like, filled out enough,
yes,
it's not deep
definitely,
enough on the combos. Um, so one thing I really wanted to mention before we get into this is just in terms of your gameplay in general, there was sort of like an issue, and I think it ties into what I was saying, but I want to kind of like tie it down a little bit more of like the whole like the fallback thing and kind of like going for like the W in all these situations
yeah,
is like when because you're going for kind of like reactions and stuff like that, you in these matches you were playing a little bit passive, and that's why he was comfortable to do these run up forward smashes is because
yeah,
you were kind of like waiting for him to do something to kind of give you something for you to like work off of, right? But
yeah,
what you need to be doing is like the match starts and you're like, "Where's the W? I'm about to come for that W, Mar. You better do something." And like the thing is like the way you kind of bait someone. So the way you were getting a lot of these openings on this guy is because he's not paying attention, and he's just gonna do the things that he's doing, and you knew the things that he was doing. Therefore, you knew you could punish them,
yeah,
and that's okay for like part of it, but a lot of it is like because you want to like you're like I want you to let me get away with this thing is like such like that's like the base level that everyone has to work off of like you're gonna go for your murder thing and I'm gonna go for my murder thing and like I'm not gonna let you get your murder thing but hopefully you let me get mine is that like you can use that intention that you're missing right now in order to pressure people to like for real bait them where like most of your neutral interactions start with like a dash back. There's not a lot of dash ins and there's not a lot of like you dash in and you're trying to get him to swing like against like a Marth of like this caliber who's kind of like swingy and like kind of like desperate in a lot of situations. You should be getting a lot more up tilts. Like like not you should be hitting them. He should be like you should be baiting out more up tilts.
Yeah.
Where like he's on the ground and you dash in and he does an up tilt hoping that you run into it and then you dash dance grab him or whatever. I would say like try to get more openings like that where you are sort of communicating to your opponent that you're going to do something, but then you don't do it. Because the two modes that I kind of witnessed while watching these matches is like one mode is like I'm going to dash dance in a tricky way and I'm going to like you're going to hit throw something and I'll whiff punish you. And then the other mode is like I'm going to full hop nair across the stage, you know?
Yeah.
And like what you want is you want to put yourself in positions where it feels like you're going to be aggressive. It feels like you're going to commit to these like aerial approaches or running shine because you're moving in an aggressive way, but then you don't do it. So basically your dash dance is kind of like passive. And I think a lot of that is because you're focused a lot on like he's going to do something and then I'll do this and that'll earn me the hit. Rather than like as a basis, I am going to just force my moves onto you, and if you want to stop it, you better do this move. Aha, okay, I was just kidding about coming in, and now you committed, and now I'll hit you. You know?
Yeah, it's very. I'm trying to think of like a word like agency. Like I don't play like I have agency a
Yeah,
little
I
bit in
usually
the
call it
sense.
like active. Like you want to be the
Yeah,
one
I'm
who
not.
is
I'm
like you
proactive,
want
not
to be like
active.
pushing your ideas onto your opponent, and they have to deal with it. And then like because you're trying to push your ideas on them and like against a worse player you can just do it, you can just push your ideas, you can just throw it in there and you'll hit them. And against a better player you have to like be like I'm gonna do it but not really be doing it and instead be like secretly protecting yourself, but you like protecting yourself still needs to feel aggressive because the whole reason that guy kept forward smashing you was because you were sort of communicating that you were just gonna dash dance under the platform and wait for something,
Yeah,
which is why he just started run up forward smashing and hoping he would get you with it. Once he realized it kept working, there was no reason for him to stop doing it, you know. But like if
yeah,
he wouldn't have even been down to run into center and try that if your dash dancing had sort of implied like I'm gonna go for something crazy, you know, like look out, like I'm a madman, like you can't
yeah,
predict
yeah,
me, you know, and then people are a lot more intimidated by that than if you're just kind of in a defensive, you know, posture.
yeah. I've been playing. I've been noticing in general as I've gotten better that like depending on who I start the day with will affect my other characters who I'll switch with, and I've been finding that like Falco, even though he's not the best of my secondaries, has been helping a lot with this because
Mm-hmm.
he sort of encourages this very like outplay mindset that I have, but it's very active.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can decide whatever you do out of laser. Like I can figure out what they like. Like if they're always dashing back and that's what they're betting on, or they're
Mm-hmm.
always trying to do something like tricky out of out of laser, I can just do like okay, laser F smash, and they'll try and like outplay me, and I can just do that. Or if they're trying to
Okay.
like shine my mid height laser, I can just they'll come in. I'll do like fading aerial, like fade
Mm-hmm.
back air instead, and it puts me in an active position. And then I'll notice when I go to Fox, I have a much more active mindset and like my dash dances are a lot smarter. A lot, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot more intense. Like I
Okay.
understand I have pressure.
So as you know, I'm somebody who's very much in favor of having like multiple characters and like playing multiple characters. And I'm pretty sure I in like our last lesson we talked about that, and that was something I said where it's like it's totally okay to be playing multiple characters or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, at the point you are currently at, if your primary goal is to improve at the game, if you're just having fun playing these other characters, that's fine, obviously. if your primary goal currently is to improve at the game, I would want you to only be playing Fox for like a couple months at least.
Yeah.
And like literally like if you can help it, I would recommend do not actually even touch another character at the select screen for like a couple months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reason is that you're using other characters to make up. So, like, you're using the other character to activate parts of your brain based on the strengths of that character. So, like, you're like, well, this character kind of naturally plays neutral this way, and so that sort of activates this part of myself. And then this character kind of, activates my brain this way to play neutral this way. And so you're using, like, it's like at this point in your development, it's kind of a crutch where you need to be able to pick any character and activate all of the parts of yourself from playing the other characters. And so, like, you need to be able to pick up Fox and be like, I'm going to play super aggro right now. You need to be able to pick up Fox and be like, I'm going to play defensive. I'm going to play kind of like I play Falco. I'm going to play kind of like I play Marth or whatever, And so it's kind of like these things need to be pieces of your play that you can bring out playing Fox. And I think that a lot of the issues that you're having are at least somewhat tied to the fact that you have multiple characters that you're kind of like processing while you play.
Yeah.
So my honest opinion is that you should just stick to Fox for a bit, like a couple months.
Yeah, I'll try and keep this short, but I do think it is like a crutch. Like I have been finding that I need to start the day with Falco
Mm-hmm.
for my Fox to really play how I want him to play. Because I
Mm-hmm.
find that if I start the day all Fox and I go Fox, he just ends up playing really lame, and I end up falling back on like things that I don't want to do, like full hop back air at center, and
Right.
it's like I need to be able to like stop doing that without having to switch a
Exactly.
character.
Like that needs to be something that you can play Fox and be like, I'm not gonna play like that. I'm gonna play like this. Notice
Yeah,
yourself playing that way and switch it. And so
yeah,
that's why, like, if your only option is Fox, you have these feelings inside of like wanting to interact in these various methods. Those are already in you. You need to be able to activate those on purpose rather than like having a character kind of help you along towards activating those feelings.
yes, definitely, yeah,
And if you play one character for a bit, it'll help your brain kind of settle in. Like, what I mean by a couple months is, 7 or 8 locals. If you go to a bunch of locals in a row and you've been only playing this one character exclusively all the time, it helps your brain get into more of like a mode where you might be more ready to use sort of fallback type things.
yes.
Okay, so what were you
And this
saying about this mesh?
so this is like I talked about that hyper conscious part of my
Mm-hmm.
play. What I'm hoping with this one that you'll see a little bit is that like this is the other side, like maybe a little bit of like the tech skill spam type side. This
Mm-hmm.
was like me coming off just like playing really hot,
Mm-hmm.
and
You're the Fox, right?
no,
Oh, you're
I'm
the
the
Marth. You're
Marth.
the Marth. Okay.
Yeah,
So I was like, wait a minute. I think I'm looking at this wrong.
and I'm wondering if like this will like show that I'm like capable of that other side you're talking about of like getting
Oh,
the
I
W.
fully believe you're capable of the other side.
Yeah,
The issue is the mental state you end up in when you're eventually playing in tournament or whatever.
yeah, definitely.
So it's like you might be able to do this as Marth, but let's say you played only Fox for the last 3 days. Can you avoid becoming, a full hop backer machine?
Yes, yeah,
And that skill, that training, is sort of like. So I usually what I try to do is I try to give people or help people with like the next step. Like, this is the thing that will help you the most at this moment, and this is what you should do. And so I definitely think that is like your like low hanging fruit of improvement is
yeah,
like you will get more experience going to these locals and stuff like that inherently. So you'll improve at playing in tournaments sort of over time just by how it is. But I think your low hanging fruit of improvement currently is play Fox, and maybe like what you could do is be like set a timer or something and say like for the next 30 minutes I am going to do nothing but either hold forward and attack with Fox or hold forward and then do a little dash dance and then go in as Fox, you know? And then be like, okay, so for the next half an hour, all I'm going to do is play like really defensive with Fox and try to just get a lot of lasers in and try to move around on the platforms and try to like avoid my opponent a lot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like try to get these different styles down with Fox and just like that's just honestly my advice. I think stick to one character right now.
Yeah.
Practice playing the character with different mindsets and practice playing the character with more of like an active mindset based on the idea that if they are gonna let you get away, it's kind of like sometimes I'll play like a Luigi where you can do that thing where you like shine them and they don't fast fall to ledge, so you just like run off and shine them, you know. And it's like if they're gonna let me get away with that, I'm gonna do it. And so like you need that mindset, and then when they don't let you get away with it, then you take it one step back and kind of like see what you can do after that, you know?
Yeah. And I get this sort of, so I'll use like Falco for like playing against Falco for an example. Like I will run into Falcos where I really can just be a full hop back air machine and it will work. They will run into it. They will not adapt. And it's like, but then I'll go like from unranked to like another good Falco and it's like I will just get destroyed for that. And I feel like I can't switch my modes. Like I can't switch where I was and I'll get all sorts of like crossed up. And that's sort of, and I'll have these when I'm at these locals, I'll have very long friendly sessions, and sometimes I'll just end up feeling like a bit like fried, like I don't know like what to make of different things. I feel like I can't adapt how I'm playing, and I'm sort of like stuck in this little bit of a rut because I can't like change sort of how I want to play. And this will happen if I play. I've been getting better at whittling it down like this because it is also like a little bit of like a cheat type of drug to like go to a different character, like playing
Mm-hmm.
realizing my Fox is playing really fast and then going to Marth and then doing that with Marth is really like fun for me.
It is
But
fun, yeah.
yeah, but then I'll get a little bit ahead of myself and I'll play like four different characters and then by the end I'll just be all sorts of like mixed up and I'll be playing terrible. And I
Mm-hmm.
realize like I'm not going to be able to like go back to playing normally until like the next day. Like I've basically
Yeah, no, I feel you. I've been in that situation too. I know exactly how it feels. It's like I
yeah.
play a bunch of nests against somebody way worse than me, and then I go back to my character, and I'm just like ruined, you know?
Yeah, and it's like I mean, I think the worst thing about it is that you like I was actually playing really hot on this day, and I'm like if I can play this well and I'm like I need to focus if I'm playing this good, I need to focus on destroying them as hard as I can with my main. It's like if I can play this well, I need to show how far I can take this. Not like
Mm-hmm.
not like step myself down and like do it on a different character type of thing, basically.
Exactly. And so I think the fact you can play multiple characters is really good, and it'll come in handy in the future. But I think currently it's really you should just be focusing on Fox for a bit and
Yeah.
just do that until you can sort of fix this like reliance on the other characters, because this is a pretty common phase that people go through when they play multiple characters. Um, it's not really something to worry about. It's just like, man, it'll be really easy to improve if you just play only Fox for a bit and sort of like try to focus on like, well, I played this guy and he kept letting me get away with this shine, you know? But then I played this other guy and he didn't let me get away with that shine. Being able to adjust to that is like what you need to kind of be practicing so that you
Yeah.
know how much respect to give people. And obviously practicing your punishes will help a lot too. But
Yeah, definitely.
okay, we're about
Um
at an hour.
Yeah, I think that's solid. That's what we
Any
do.
final thoughts?
Um, just fuck them up. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was the point of the lesson. No, I think that yeah, that's definitely solid. I will say is that I'm gonna try really really hard because like even the fact that even on my best of days, I don't stay Fox an entire, like, I can't think of the last session, and I play every day pretty much, where I
Mm-hmm.
only played Fox, not a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of one other character. And it's like, even like that has to, like, it's just not, it's not right. And before, I didn't feel like I was ready to do it, to like just stick with him. I
Mm-hmm.
sort of had cold feet a little bit, and I didn't have that confidence. Like, I was doubting myself. But the thing is, I've realized with like Fox is that I can sort of, I can make these outplays. Like, I realize, like, I see like the flashings of like a player that is smart, and I can see these outplays with Fox that I feel like are high level, that I
Mm-hmm.
don't see with other characters, or I have like ideas for punishes that I don't have with other characters. The others I have just sort of basics, but like Fox feels special, and I do finally feel like confident with him, even if I won't entirely enjoy it, because I have to admit part of it is like it's a little bit of boredom just sticking to one, but I also just have like, I call it like chronic fickleness, basically. Like, every single game I've ever played, I have to do every, I had like, I would play World of Warcraft as a kid. I would never make it to max level. I just get a character to like level 30, and then I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, what if I played a rogue instead? And I did that with
Mm-hmm.
basically every, it's something I've had my entire life.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah,
I
yeah, but it's
think
like,
that that's why
if
I'm
I care
saying
about
I'm not
improvement.
telling you to give up your other characters. I'm saying like as a training routine for 2 months, I would recommend you only play one character.
Yeah. I just feel like now I'm finally at that mental spot where I'm ready to say, because when I started, I just assumed I was going to be bad forever because I had this sort of condition. I mean, when I started, it was terrible. I was playing like Samus. I would like say I'm gonna main Ices for a week. I would just do whatever, and I never figured I would be like emotionally ready for it. I never knew how long it was gonna take, but I do feel like I'm in that spot where like, and I know you mean like don't just like drop them, but just to stick with Fox for
Mm-hmm.
like for more
Yeah,
than a
because that
month.
that boredom you feel playing Fox, that doesn't come from you playing Fox. That's like comes from inside you, and you need to
Yeah.
learn to switch it up without switching the character.
Yeah. And the other reason I feel confident about this is because I got all these like weird little irrational anxieties, like zodiac personalities. Like, ooh, what if I play a lot of Fox, but what if I'm secretly a Marth player? Like, what if I'm secretly suited? And I've just learned from learning them all. It's like, if you're good, you can make any of them work. There's no such thing as
Mm-hmm.
being like a, it's up to you. You
It's
play. It's like
true.
it's your choose your own adventure type of thing. If you want to play, you can. They're all the top tiers are good enough. You can play them how you want to play them. Like, if you do it right. It's like it doesn't matter,
I
and
agree.
it's like, yeah, and Fox there, and I'm like, there has to be a reason Fox is the one I keep going back to the most. He feels special. Like, there's a reason it's not like 40% Fox, 40% Falco, 40%. Like, it's like 80%. There's a reason I'm going back to him, even if like on its worst days it feels like I don't want to play him and I want something different. Like, he offers something, and I sort of see that now, basically.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my closing thoughts, I
All right,
guess.
awesome. Yeah, I think that's good. I think you're definitely ready to like move to like the next phase of your like development as a player, and I think that's really cool to see. And I hope
Yeah.
this lesson gave you some more confidence in like sort of taking the plunge to like get there.
Yeah, it's definitely very therapeutic, I would say, like
Mm-hmm.
validating to
I yeah, I
to
can feel
know.
it. I can feel it. You're like, oh, I can feel myself coming out of my cocoon. Like,
Yeah, because I don't get to talk about these things. Like, I don't know like a lot of, but the other thing is that like I it is very validating to hear you say that like I go for these outplays, because like I don't like to get overconfident about myself, but I feel like when I play some people and I'll play really smart, I'll look at them like, "Did you see that? Do you see what I just did there?" And I realize like they literally don't see, and I'm like, these people really aren't that good. Like, they might be beating me, but they like, you really didn't see like that smart thing that I outplayed you there. Like, they didn't even realize. It's like,
yeah, you'll have to get used to that.
yeah,
That's my life.
Yeah. Uh,
But anyway, it was fun talking with you. It was a good lesson.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, good luck with that improvement, and let me know how it goes.
yeah, man. Have a good one.
All right, peace.